Hello students, in last video we have started learning interspecific interaction and we said that there are some types of interspecific interaction like predation, parasitism, competition, commensalism and amensalism. Okay, these many types of interspecific interactions exist in community. And today we are going to start with the first interspecific interaction that is given in the textbook, and it is predation. Okay, so we will learn predation first. So what is the significance of predation? Predation transfers energy from lower trophic level to higher trophic level in the ecosystem. Okay, predation helps in the transfer of energy from lower trophic level to higher trophic level. You have not studied the chapter 14, that is ecosystem. In that ecosystem chapter, ecological pyramids are there. Ecological pyramids are there. Okay, and at the base of ecological pyramid, producers are there. And above that, primary consumers will be there. On that, secondary consumers will be there. Above that, tertiary consumers will be there. Okay, so these are known as different trophic levels. These are known as different trophic levels. Okay, so energy which comes from the sun in form of sunlight is fixed by the producers, that are plants. Okay, plants will produce this. Plants will produce the food, and they will fix the sunlight in form of glucose. They will fix the sunlight in form of glucose or nutrients. And this energy which is fixed by the producers will travel through the different trophic levels. It will pass through the second trophic level, it will pass through the third trophic level, it will pass through the fourth trophic level, and this passes because of the predation. It can pass from first, second, third and fourth trophic level because of the predation. Okay, so if predation is not there, then the energy that is fixed by the plant cannot travel to the higher trophic levels. Okay, so predation helps in the transformation of energy from lower trophic level to higher trophic level. Okay, at lower trophic level plants are there, and at higher trophic levels carnivores are there, top carnivores are there. Okay, so energy which has been fixed by plants cannot reach to top carnivore or at the highest trophic level without predation. Okay, so this is the significance of predation. Okay, so in this manner predation helps in predation is a conduit of energy, or predators are conduits of energy. Predators are conduits of energy because they conduct energy from lower trophic level to higher trophic level. So we can say that predators are conduits of energy. Then when we think about predators and prey, the first example that comes to our mind is tiger. Tiger is a predator and deer is a prey. Deer is prey. Okay, so the first example that comes to our mind when we talk about predation, a predator and prey is tiger and deer. But a seed-eating sparrow is also a predator when we think in large ecological context. Okay, when we think in large ecological context, we have to say that a seed-eating sparrow is also a predator. Seed-eating sparrow is also a predator when we think in large ecological context. Okay, otherwise naturally when we talk about predator and prey, the first example that comes to our mind is tiger and deer. But when we think in large ecological context, we have to say that seed-eating sparrow is also a predator. So predator example is tiger and prey example is deer. But seed-eating sparrow is also a predator when we think in large ecological context. Okay. So next point in predation is that predators keep prey population under control. Predators help to maintain the prey population under control, or they keep prey population under control. Okay, so predators keep prey population under control. When the exotic species are introduced in an habitat, they may become invasive due to absence of natural predator. When any new species or when any exotic species is added in the habitat, say for example in Bhavnagar, we add the new plant which does not grow in Bhavnagar. Okay, so in a habitat when the new species is added, so that species is known as exotic species. Okay, so when the exotic species is added into the habitat, it may become invasive because of the absence of natural predator. As the natural predators of that species are not there in that habitat, it will become invasive and it may impose threat to the native species. It may impose threat to the native species. Okay, so when the exotic species are introduced in the habitat, they become invasive in the absence of natural predator. They will grow rapidly in the absence of natural predator, because natural predator is not there in that habitat. So they will grow rapidly. For example, prickly pear cactus when were added in Australia in 1920s. Okay, in 1920s, prickly pear cactus were added in Australia, and they created havoc by growing massively. Okay, in the rangeland, they created a havoc by growing massively in the rangeland. And then Australian government brought the prickly pear cactus under control by introducing their natural predator called cactus feeding moth. Okay, so example is prickly pear cactus in 1920s in Australia. This plant has created havoc in Australia by rapidly growing in the rangeland because of the absence of natural predator. As no natural predator was there in Australia of prickly pear cactus, so it grew rapidly and it has created an havoc. Okay, but they were brought under control by cactus feeding moth. Then Australian government introduced a cactus feeding moth in Australia. That cactus feeding moth was the natural predator of prickly pear cactus, and then by continuously feeding it, it brought the population of prickly pear cactus under control. Okay, so what we are saying? We are saying that when any exotic species is introduced in the habitat, as it is not having any natural predator, it will grow rapidly in the habitat. But when its predator is added in that habitat, then its population can be controlled. Say for example, prickly pear cactus in Australia created havoc by growing massively in the rangeland. But when the its natural predator like cactus feeding moth was added in the Australia, its population was brought under control by Australian government. Okay, sure. Then biological control methods which are applied in agriculture to control pests. Biological control methods which are applied in agriculture to control the pest are based on the ability of predators to keep the prey population under control. Okay, we are saying that predators keep prey population under control. So we have to say that biological control methods which are applied in agriculture are also based upon ability of predators to keep prey population under control. You have not learned about this. The biological control method. This topic comes in chapter 10 of standard 12, microbes in human welfare. Okay, when we learn that, you will learn this point you can understand this point. But for now, you just remember that biological control methods which are applied in agriculture are also based on ability of predator to keep prey population under control. So we have said the first point here. That predators keep prey population under control. And to prove this, we have given 3 points. To prove that, we have given 3 points. Okay, predators keep prey population under control, and for that we have given example of prickly pear cactus, and then we have given example of biological control method which are applied in agriculture. Okay, now let's talk about another importance of predator, that is that predators maintain species diversity in the community. Predators maintain species diversity in the community by reducing competition between the species of the community. Okay, predators reduce competition between the species of the community, and thereby they maintain the species diversity in the community. Okay, so predators maintain species diversity in the community by reducing the competition. An example of it is Pisaster starfish. Okay, Pisaster starfish is found in the rocky intertidal coast of rocky intertidal communities of Pacific American coast. Okay, Pisaster starfish. Pisaster starfish. It is an animal. Starfish is an animal. Pisaster starfish. Its name is Pisaster starfish. So it's a starfish, and it is found in rocky intertidal communities of American Pacific coast. Pisaster starfish is found in rocky intertidal communities of American Pacific coast, and this Pisaster starfish, when removed experimentally, from that area, the 10 species of invertebrates became extinct due to interspecific interaction in the absence of Pisaster starfish. So as Pisaster starfish was absent, the 10 invertebrate species got extinct because of interspecific interaction. So what this Pisaster starfish was doing there? Pisaster starfish was reducing the competition between those 10 invertebrate species, and thereby it was maintaining the species diversity of all. But when the Pisaster starfish was removed experimentally, the 10 species of invertebrates become extinct because of interspecific interaction. So what was the significance of Pisaster starfish? Significance of Pisaster starfish was it was reducing the competition between the species of invertebrates. Okay, so for example, in rocky intertidal communities of American Pacific coast, Pisaster starfish is a predator, and when it is removed experimentally, 10 species of invertebrate species become extinct, or 10 species of invertebrate became extinct due to interspecific interaction. So in the absence of a good predator, the prey species will become extinct because of interspecific interaction. Okay, in the absence of a good predator, that is Pisaster starfish, the 10 species of invertebrate become extinct because of the interspecific interaction, or because of the interspecific competition. Okay, sure. Then generally predators are prudent, means they are wise. Predators are prudent, means they are wise. So they will not exploit the prey. They will not exploit prey. And if anyhow they exploit prey, then they will also become extinct in the absence of food. Okay, because when the predator overexploits the prey population will decline. And when prey population declines over the period of time, predator population will also get declined. Okay, so predators are generally prudent, they are wise, and if they exploit the prey population, predators will also become extinct over the period of time. And that's why they do not overexploit the prey population. Predators do not overexploit the prey population, and that's why predators are wise, they are prudent, and if they do so, if they overexploit the prey population, then they will also become extinct over the period of time. Okay, sure. Now let's talk about the defense mechanism developed by different animals to avoid predation. We are discussing defense mechanism but developed by different animals to avoid predation, and in that we will give two examples. The one example is of frogs and insects, and another example is of monarch butterfly. Okay, so we will say that frogs and insects avoid competition. They avoid predation by becoming cryptically colored. Frogs and insects become cryptically colored. They camouflage, and thereby they hide in the environment. And that's why and by this mechanism they avoid predation. Okay, how do the frogs and insects avoid predation? They avoid predation by becoming cryptically colored. They avoid predation by doing camouflage and by hiding in the environment. So frogs and insects avoid predation by hiding, by camouflaging, or by becoming cryptically colored. This is their mechanism of avoiding predation. And the monarch butterfly avoids predation by releasing a distasteful chemical. When the predator comes to eat that monarch butterfly, the monarch butterfly will release distasteful chemicals, because of which the predator will not eat the monarch butterfly. Okay, because of that the predator will not eat the monarch butterfly as it releases distasteful chemical while being eaten. Okay, and this distasteful chemical was obtained by this monarch butterfly during the caterpillar stage by feeding on the poisonous weed. Okay, when this monarch butterfly was in caterpillar stage, at that time it was feeding on the poisonous weed, and from that poisonous weed it has got this distasteful chemical, and this distasteful chemical helps it to survive from the predation. Okay, so monarch butterfly releases a distasteful chemical to avoid predation, and this chemical was obtained during the caterpillar stage by feeding on the poisonous weed. So what we have discussed in the predation, that predation has to transfer energy from lower trophic level to higher trophic level. In this manner, predators are conduits of energy. Predators are conduits of energy. And when we talk about predation, the first example that comes to our mind is tiger, that is predator, and deer, that is prey. But when we think in large ecological context, we can say that sparrow which eats the seed is also a predator, or seed eating sparrow is also a predator. Then we said that predators keep prey population under control. Predators keep prey population under control. And when any exotic species, an example, we are giving example of that, and when any exotic species is added in the habitat, it may turn invasive, and it may turn invasive and may impose threat to the local species. So example of it is prickly pear cactus, which was introduced in Australia in 1920s, created havoc by rapidly growing in the rangeland. Okay, and it was brought under control by government of Australia by introducing the cactus feeding moth. Okay, so as its natural predator was not there, the prickly pear cactus grew rapidly. Okay, so when any exotic species is added in the habitat, as it is not having any natural predator there, it will grow rapidly. But when the natural predator is introduced in the habitat, its population can be brought under control. Okay, then biological pest control methods which are applied in agriculture are also based upon ability of predator to keep prey population under control. Okay, that is also an example of predation. Okay, so biological control methods which are applied in agriculture are also based upon ability of predator to keep prey population under control. Then we said that predators also maintain species diversity in the community by reducing competition among the species of the community. How and what is the example of that? Say for example, in rocky intertidal communities of American Pacific coast, Pisaster starfish is a good predator is there. Okay, and if this predator is removed experimentally, then the 10 species of invertebrate will become extinct due to interspecific competition. So Pisaster starfish was maintaining species diversity by reducing competition among different species of invertebrates. So this was its significance. This was the significance of Pisaster starfish. And then we said that predators are wise, they are prudent, they never overexploit the prey, and if they do so, they will also become extinct over the period of time. And then we said that various defense mechanisms are developed by prey to avoid predation. And here we are talking about animals. In that we said that frogs and insects become cryptically colored, they camouflage, they hide in environment to avoid predation. And then we said that monarch butterfly releases a distasteful chemical to avoid predation, and this distasteful chemical was obtained by it during the caterpillar stage while feeding on a poisonous weed. So this is we have discussed up to this, and now we will discuss the defense mechanism of the plants to avoid predation in the next slide. Okay, chalo. So students, we are learning defense mechanism developed by animals and plants. We have seen the examples of animals which have developed certain defense mechanism, and in that we have discussed about frog and insects, and we have also discussed about monarch butterfly. Okay, and now we are going to talk about defense mechanism of plants to avoid predation. Okay, defense mechanism developed by plants to avoid predation. The problem with the plants is that nearly 25% of insects, nearly 25% of insects are phytophagous. Okay, so a very large number of organisms are there who are phytophagous, who are eating plants. Not only herbivores like deer and other organisms who eat the plants. So many insects are also eating plants, apart from simple herbivore that we see, cattle, okay, deer, okay. So they also eat plants, and insects also feed on plants. Okay, so this indicates the severity of the problem which plant face. Okay, so 25% of insects are phytophagous. 25% of the insects are phytophagous, apart from regular herbivore organism. Okay, apart from regular herbivore organism, 25% of insects are also phytophagous. So many organisms eat plants. Many organisms eat plants. This sentence indicates that. And plants cannot escape like animals. Okay, if any animal is being predated, it can escape, it can run away. But plants cannot run away from the predation. Plants cannot run away from the predation. Okay, so plants cannot escape the animals. Escape like animals. They cannot escape like animals. Then let's talk about the morphological defense developed by plants to avoid predation, and physiological defense developed by plants to avoid predation. Morphologically, plants produce thorns to avoid predation, and thorns are developed by acacia and cactus. Acacia and cactus are the two plants who have developed thorns to avoid predation. So thorns are means of avoiding predation. So this is a morphological defense. Some plants produce chemicals to avoid predation, and it can be called as physiological defense. It can be called as physiological defense. So, say for example, plants release chemical, and these chemicals make herbivores sick. These chemicals inhibit digestion, it inhibits feeding, and it also inhibits reproduction of the herbivore, and sometimes it may kill the herbivore also. Okay, so physiologically, plants release certain chemicals which make herbivores sick. It inhibits the digestion of the herbivore, it inhibits feeding by herbivore, it inhibits the reproduction of the herbivore, and it may also kill the herbivore. So in this manner, plants may avoid predation. It may avoid predation. And we are giving the example of one plant, that is Calotropis, which grows in abandoned farmland, okay, or in abandoned land. So Calotropis generally grows in abandoned lands, and it releases, this Calotropis releases a cardiac glycoside. Calotropis releases a cardiac glycoside, which is a poisonous chemical, and it releases this cardiac glycoside against the goats. Generally it releases this cardiac glycoside against what? Against goats. And to avoid predation from the goat, it will release a cardiac glycoside. So Calotropis is a plant which releases cardiac glycoside to avoid predation by the goats, and goat is a browser. Okay, those animals who eat leaves of the plants are known as browser, and those animals who eat grass, they are known as grazer. Okay, so two types of animals are there, browsers and grazers. Goat is a kind of browser animal. Goat is a browser animal. So to avoid predation from browsers like goat, Calotropis releases a chemical known as cardiac glycoside. Okay, then certain chemicals which we extract from plants, from the plants like nicotine, caffeine, quinine, strychnine and opium, these chemicals are commercially important to us. These chemicals are commercially important to us. They are important for us. Okay, we get many commercial benefits from these chemicals. But actually, these chemicals are produced as defense against browser and grazers. Okay, these chemicals are produced by plants as defense against browser and grazers. Okay, so chemicals extracted from plants on commercial scale like nicotine, caffeine, quinine, strychnine, opium are produced by them against browser and grazer, but we take commercial benefit, economical benefit from these chemicals. Actually, they are being produced by plants for defense mechanism. Okay, so these are the defense mechanism developed by plant. In the first point, we said that nearly 25% of insects are phytophagous. Apart from general herbivore, these many insects also depend on plants. So the plants are being predated. Okay, mostly plants are being predated. Okay, and plants cannot escape like animals. An animal can escape the predation. It can run away from the site, but the plants cannot run away from site. And plants develop two types of defense mechanism: morphological defense and chemical or physiological defense. In morphological defense, they develop thorns like acacia and cactus. In physiological defense, they develop chemicals. These chemicals make herbivores sick. It may inhibit their feeding, it may inhibit their reproduction, digestion, and sometimes it may even kill the herbivore. And calotropis, which grows in abandoned land, will release a cardiac glycoside to avoid predation from the goat, which is a browser. And we extract certain chemicals from the plants, like we extract nicotine, caffeine, strychnine, opium, quinine. These chemicals are commercially or economically important for us, but actually they are being produced by plants as defense against the browsers and grazers. Okay, so this is all about predation. We have completed the first interspecific interaction, which is beneficial for one organism and harmful or detrimental for another. Okay, we have discussed the first interspecific interaction, that is predation. Predation is beneficial for one organism and harmful for another organism. Okay, this is all about predation. We will talk about competition in the next video. Till then, best of luck.